we're lucky enough to have the CEO of Porsche Cars North America, Klaus Zellmer, joined us. Klaus has been here before. He knows this is his loyal following of his brand. That this is all things Porsche here.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate being here. It's the highlight of the year coming out to Monterey. Of course for Pebble, but especially for the Werks reunion. The setup is just incredible. Coming down here, just arrived half an hour ago, is something that sends my heart racing. And I couldn't be more proud to be here. And I would also like to take the opportunity to thank everybody setting that up, being here. Of course, the volunteers being the ones that fuel all this. And so thank you for that. And I'm going to walk around and I can't wait. So back to you, Manny.
So there's a lot of exciting things going on at Porsche. You just released Project Gold last night, the 993 Turbo S. A month or so ago, we saw the new Speedster, the concept, which hopefully will become into production maybe. It's a beautiful design. But the thing that everyone's talking about is the car, used to be called Mission E, now called Taycan. Everyone wants to know about this electric car. I know there's waiting lists at dealerships. People want to, take my money, please. They want this car. You've driven one.
Yeah.
Give us your impressions. What's the car like?
Let me start where we stand in terms of waiting lists. It's incredible that we opened up a website where you can officially register to raise your arm and say, hey, I want that car, and it immediately filled up with 10,000 people. Now, something that we really like is that we can also track where they come from. We're always looking, when we bring a car out like that, which is huge investments. I mean, just to give you an indication, Porsche invests 7 billion euro altogether to bring this electrified car to the market. So we want to know where the source of business of that is. So we're looking at those 10,000 people and we look what have they driven before. And actually, it's the vast majority has not owned a Porsche before, which is good for the business case. We don't want to just substitute what we sell today. So it seems to take the right direction. Now, many people, of course, ask, what is it like to drive a car that you can't fire up? When you start it, nothing happens. What happens if you drive it? And I can tell you, I had the chance to drive the car on German Autobahn, German roads, curvy roads. And of course, you will say, well, Klaus, you're not neutral. You want to sell as many of these as possible. But I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. The car is absolutely insane when you drive it, in terms of performance, in terms of the directness that you have with Porsche engineering from Weissach, taking a battery electric vehicle from scratch, putting it on wheels, and converting, let's take the number 600 horsepower, into something that is worth carrying the Porsche crest. And it took my breath away, and I've been with Porsche for 21 years. I've driven many, many, many cars. This is one of the most impressive I've ever been in.
So we've seen the prototype Mission E, which I think is at the Zentrum this weekend. We haven't seen the Taycan in its own flesh, I guess. You have a rough idea when we may see, not spy shots, but the official Porsche photos of the Taycan?
The official Porsche photos you're going to see surfacing next year in September. This is when the car will then be officially introduced, but you're going to see some stuff airing beforehand. We want to build up some momentum, storytelling about how we developed the car. I mean, I can share a secret in this family that we have 25 Taycans currently in the United States for testing purposes. We're going to do some coverage about that too, because they're going to come over to the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta. We'll do some testing of the brakes with our engineers from Germany. So it's building momentum at the moment. You're going to see more stories, but the final pictures, they will be out in the fall next year.
And it's quite an investment in the infrastructure at Porsche. I know we were in Stuttgart in June, and the factory that's going to make these You're essentially building a new factory, and what I found was amazing was you're going underground, because obviously in Stuttgart, unlike Leipzig, you don't have a lot more room to build.
Yeah.
And because of environment requirements, you can't go high. So I think it's a feat in itself how you went so deep into the ground to build this factory.
You're right, Manny. I mean, basically what we're doing in Stuttgart, in Zuffenhausen, the cradle of the Porsche brand, is building a new factory within a running factory, producing 911s, the most 911s we have ever produced, all at the same time in an inner city environment. So anybody who's ever been there, if you have not seen the new buildings that are being now one after the other set up for the Taycan, you will not recognize the whole inner city environment anymore, because it's completely converted. The interesting thing is that it's not only underground, it's also overground. So we have bridges that sort of bridge the inner city traffic with the bodies that are being painted on site as well, and then being completed in some other parts of our factory. And there's the longest bridge of these, where we have like a conveyor belt, these bodies traveling, is exactly 911 meters long. Now, that of course is a complete coincidence, but no, let's be serious. I mean, we are very aware of the DNA Porsche, of our past, of what people see in us. The 911 is, of course, a big element in our DNA. And building the car in Zuffenhausen from an outside point of view doesn't make sense, because it's so complicated to set up a factory. But Porsche has decided 4 years ago that if we bring a car that takes us into the next dimension, battery electric vehicles, it has to come from the cradle of the brand to be credible and to be worth carrying the crest. Everybody driving the car will then hopefully confirm that, and I've done it, and I can confirm. Now we're waiting for more people to do that.
But meanwhile, you have a lot of other exciting things going on. I'm amazed by the 919 Tribute, the Evo car that's going around the different tracks and just demolishing the track records. Who would have thought that a street, or not a street car, but a car could beat a Formula One car on Spa? I think where
it was Spa,
demolished the record. It's and I'm hoping, I don't know if you can say it, I'm hoping they come to Laguna Seca and do the same thing at Rennsport.
Yeah, yes. Now, people, you can't hear the applause that is coming from around me, from behind me. Yes, we are going to bring the 919 hybrid to Laguna Seca, and you're going to see some track times that you have never seen before, I hope. Taking it from the Nürburgring Nordschleife, if you know what the car has done there, and Spa-Francorchamps, I think some of the Formula One guys were blown away by the fact that a hybrid, a boring hybrid, can take away the fame of those cars by just setting up new track records all around.
For me, it's pretty cool, because I wasn't around during the 917-30 era, you know, unlimited power. But I'm seeing this with the 919, which Porsche is saying, hey, if you let us build the car we should have built or been able to race, this is what this car could have done. And it's really incredible how fast the 919 really is.
I mean, if you follow the video that is on YouTube, it almost looks like a video game. It's almost unreal, and I couldn't be more respectful for the guys doing that kind of speed in an environment that is getting unreal in terms of the reaction times they have to have and the control they have to keep. So it's pretty impressive. I talked to the guys that were there at Nürburgring with the 919. It was the third attempt. The first attempt was already pretty impressive. The second one was a little bit better, and our driver said, hey, I think I can do even a little bit better than that. And he knocked out, the time knocked out the park, just taking out another 12 seconds that he found on the track. So that's what you then saw, and that's something we, actually also the people in Weissach were taken by surprise that this is possible with what they engineered.
So this will be your first Rennsport reunion, correct?
Yes.
And for those that don't know, during the interview, before Klaus ever even came to the U.S. as the CEO, he mentioned that there will be a Rennsport 3 years from now. which of course that's only thing everyone read in that interview was that there was going to be another Rennsport, and now we're weeks away from the Rennsport. Anything you want to share with us? Any secrets yet, or are we going to hold on to the end? I know that I've seen the driver list, and it's very impressive, these drivers who I tell people the cars are phenomenal, but it's really the drivers and the personalities from Porsche that make Rennsport, because they have the stories you're hearing firsthand of what it was like to race back then. And Porsche does a great job of pairing modern drivers with the older 60s, 70s drivers and showing the differences of how much has evolved since that time.
I mean, something, yes. Let me start with this. When I heard about Rennsport Reunion not being here in the United States, being in other parts of the Porsche world, I was lacking imagination of how big that is. I mean, wherever I go, and now I'm personally involved in setting everything up, organizing, and with a great team of mine, with you guys from the club, I can see the dimension of that. And having 4 days and going back 3 years, when I was asked, will there be another Rennsport reunion? I was a bit naive, because I said, well, it's the 70th birthday. Of course there will be one in 3 years. You should have seen the expressions on my colleagues' face when they heard that. They said, no, we thought we'd have another 3 to 4 years to prepare for that. And they said, well, we can't miss 70 years of Porsche. We need to find a way to do that. And now being in the process of getting everything ready, I know why they looked the way they looked like when I said, yeah, we'll have it in 3 years. Now, surprises, yes. We had 50 racing legends on our list that we desperately wanted to join us for Rennsport Reunion 5. And out of the 50, and there are people like, they're way above 80, many of them. And out of the 50, we have 49 confirmed, which just shows that this is not just cold metal and people, calling out and sending out invitations. This is a family gathering that reaches over decades of Porsche history, and everybody wants to be part of that. And it's going to be the biggest event of the 70 years of Porsche anniversary celebrations that we see, and it's going to take place in the United States, in Laguna Seca, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've heard estimates between 72 to 70-some thousand spectators for a single mark event. That's incredible. I think it's the largest event for Laguna Seca when it happens, and this is amazing just how much enthusiasm from Porsche exists. I got one last question. So I know that you keep a little secret hidden at the Experience Center. I think you keep it parked there, your VW bus.
Oh yeah.
Now, how long have you've had this love affair with VW buses, and you had it just restored? And I saw a picture of you picking up Dr. Frank Walliser at the airport. That was the shuttle vehicle. Was I right?
That's right. So we're linked on Facebook, so Manny knows everything I do. And yes, it was my 50th birthday last year, and I was thinking hard about what do I want for my 50th birthday. And I always liked these Samba buses, the 23-window VW T1 Samba buses, because they just make me smile. So I was looking for one. I found one in Brazil, and I got it restored from scratch, and it's now with the family in Atlanta. And when Frank Walliser and his team won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring with the 911, I reached out to him and I said, because the number that won on the car was 912, and I also happen to have an Irish green 912. And I reached out to him and I said, hey Frank, next time you come, and he's the head of our motorsport department, he's a very close friend of mine, and I said, next time you come to the States, I'm either going to pick you up in my 912, commemorizing the fact that the 912 won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, or in the VW bus. You choose. And he immediately responded and said, the bus. So I was standing there like a valet, with all the valet colleagues there, and I was waiting for him to come out, and I opened the door and he sat in there. We posted a picture on Facebook, and he really appreciated me doing that. So it's not all about speed. It's also about your heart, and that bus is very close to my heart, that's true.
Well, VW is close to the family, so it's actually people thought you took a part-time job with Uber. They were looking on their Uber apps to see if they could sign you up. So anyways, thanks for coming by. It's always a pleasure having you here, and you're a great friend to the club, and we love our relationship. So I hope you get a chance to walk around and take a look at some of these beautiful cars.
I have until 11 o'clock, and I won't do
plenty
anything
of time,
but
plenty of
walk
time.
around and look. So thank you, Manny. You
All right,
also.
ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you everybody
Klaus
for being
Zellmer.
here, and thank you for everything you do.